Hello again, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of AR Fitness and Athletics. Today is my day 2 program, which is deadlift day for me. So follow along. You'll be seeing some different stuff today in terms of how the program is done. It's my new program for this block, which I'm going to follow for 3 weeks. You'll see the differences between this day 2 and the last one that I posted in terms of how the repetitions and the exercises are set up. So I hope you enjoy it. And now let's get to work. I try not to be too rigid with my warm-ups in terms of what I do. Today I feel like hitting the bike for a few minutes, so I'll be 5 minutes on the bike. Nothing too aggressive, just get the muscles warmed up and blood flowing. And then we're gonna get right into the program and we'll see you on the gym floor. As you can see, I'm setting up for some squats even though this is my deadlift day. In this block, I've changed my routine significantly. As opposed to doing the jumps with the trap bar deadlift, I'm going to be warming up for my deadlifts with squats. My program this time around is going to be 4 sets of 2 at 60% of my squats. So this does 2 things. 1, it allows me to warm up my hips and my legs for the deadlift. And 2, it allows me to take time to perfect my squatting technique. So at that weight, or at that percentage of 60%, it's still giving me a warm-up, it's still giving me something to push, but it allows me to move the weight in a very controlled manner, and I can pick up little nuances that I would need to perfect my squatting technique. So here we are with 315, and I would knock off 4 sets of 2 repetitions. As you can see, very controlled, and I try to move the bar as fast as I can on the concentric movement. If you watch closely, you'll notice that when I'm at the bottom of the movement, there's a slight pause. These are in fact called pause squats. If you're a lifter, the reason why you'd want to use a pause squat is to take the momentum out of the lift. This in fact mimics the deadlift a lot more, in that a deadlift has no momentum to it, unlike a bench press where the eccentric contraction is happening before the concentric contraction, same as the squat. As I'm finishing off the last couple of sets of the squats on this video, I want to remind everybody once again how important it is to stay focused on what you're doing, especially on an exercise like squat or bench press, where you have the bar coming across your back or across your chest or your throat. You want to stay focused, you want to move with intention, you want to make sure that the movement is clean and how you want it to be. And once again, when you're doing your warm-ups or if you're using lighter weight, that is the time to focus in on your technique and to get it down perfect, so that when you are using heavier weight, you are using leverage more than you are muscle. That's very important when you're doing heavy lifting. So keep that in mind. You want to leverage the weight and you don't want to just muscle it up. That can cause a lot more stress on the joints and on the muscles. As we move into the deadlift portion of the routine, we're going to forego the warm-up sets for the sake of time, but I assure you that we did do the proper warm-up and building up to the heavy weight. I made a significant change in my deadlift routine this time around. In the last block, I worked at a 95% of my maximum lift, and I did 4 heavy sets at that percentage, and then I dropped down to approximately 75% of my maximum lift, and I did speed deadlifts for 8 sets. In this routine, however, I dropped my heavy sets down to 90% of my estimated maximum, and I moved up the number of sets to 8, so that would be an 8 set total for 90%, eliminating the speed deadlifts. Making periodic changes in any routine is essential for growth, both mentally and physically. Routine is great, but if we do it too many times and too often, it becomes mundane, it becomes boring, and the nervous system doesn't get challenged enough for you to advance or move further on in whatever you're doing. So making changes is crucial to any routine, regardless of the sport. That's why I did it this block around, and I always do that every 4 to 5 weeks. I change something, I give myself a new challenge. I find a new way to approach the lift, even if it's the same lift, It can always be done in a different way, once again putting different demands on the body and giving you a challenge and something to move forward with. My last leg exercise for day 2 is called the hack squat. This is essentially a machine version of a squat. However, this machine, the way it's designed, really focuses on your quads, and that's something that I want to concentrate again over these last few months. As I said in another video, I feel like my quads need a bit more work and that they've fallen behind for whatever reason, so I want to pay attention to them again. So I've gotten back to the hack squat, and I just rediscovered how much I loved it. So it's a great exercise, and I'll probably keep this exercise for a couple more blocks until I find something else to challenge myself with. This exercise is performed for 3 sets, and I give myself a range of 10 to 15 repetitions to do the exercises. Once I've hit 15 repetitions, I load on more weight, drop the reps down to 10, and challenge myself to get up to another 15 once again. Next in the routine, we move on to chest exercise. On day 2, I do a sort of back off for the chest, so I'm not pushing a lot of heavy weight on the bench press. What I am doing is called a dumbbell fly for the chest muscles, and this exercise tends to isolate the pectoralis muscles and the front deltoid. Doesn't really require too much effort for the triceps, and more than that, it gives my chest and shoulder girdle a bit of a rest. This particular movement does not offer a great amount of leverage, but it does give the chest a great stretch. So you don't want to load heavy weight on this exercise. What you do want to do is hit the high reps, hit high amount of sets, and use volume to get the strength and size that you want out of this exercise. Now you'll also notice that I'm going into a second exercise immediately. This is for abdominals, and it's the abdominal roller. So on this particular routine, I'm actually doing a superset. So it's a chest exercise followed immediately by an abdominal exercise. Now I chose these 2 exercises because one muscle set does not interfere with the other. So when I'm doing my abdominals, it has no effect or very minimal effect on any of my muscles that I'm going to be using for the fly. Structuring a workout program in this manner helps you to get in more exercises in relatively the same amount of time. In other words, if you have an hour's worth to train, instead of just doing straight exercise sets, you can do a superset so that you're resting minimal amount of time in between exercises from one to the other. So what I will do here is I will perform a set of dumbbell flies for my chest, and then immediately get into position to do the abdominal roller. And once I'm done with 2 sets, then I give myself about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to rest, and go into the same routine once again. Dumbbell flies followed again by abdominal roller. And I'll perform this for 5 sets altogether. This allows me to get more volume of work in relatively the same amount of time. Doing this sort of back off day for my chest, I found has been very effective. I find myself with less joint pains and greater recovery between one heavy workout and the other. Once again, this exercise does offer a lot in working the chest muscle, but because it is higher volume and lower weight, it's less stressful on the joints, and my recovery has been better, and I find that when I get to my heavy days, that it's been that much more effective. I've also done this with my leg routine. So on my day 3, that would be my lighter leg day. I still work the legs, but not nearly as hard. Once again, working the muscles, but allowing everything to recover. For my last set of exercises on my day 2, I work the arms. So that's both biceps and triceps. And once again, I do this as a superset. So as you see in the video, I am doing cable bicep curls, and then I will follow up by cable tricep extensions, doing them on each individual arm. When it comes to my arm routine, I reinvented myself a short while ago. I found that lifting the heavy weight for biceps and triceps just didn't seem to have the right effect anymore. So what I did was I stepped back and I lightened the load and added a whole bunch of volume. So the routine now becomes either 5 or 6 sets with repetitions of 10 up to 15, even up to 17 repetitions. Having used this model or methodology for the last few months, I noticed that my arm strength has been just as good, if not a bit better, but mostly I noticed that the strain on my arms has been a lot less. So there's been much less, if not zero, elbow pains, and same thing goes with the biceps and the wrist. Because they are smaller joints and I'm not loading them with a lot of weight, I find that I've been getting along much better in using this methodology in doing lighter weight, more reps, but higher amount of sets. The other thing that I've been doing in the last few months is rediscovering exercises. I've been around the gym for 35 years or so, and what you find tends to happen is you start to get favorites in terms of exercises and you tend to stick to them. Even though I do change my routine quite frequently, you do get hung up on certain exercises. So what I've done in the last few months is allowed myself to rediscover exercise that I haven't done in a while. So the cable tricep extensions in the manner that I've been doing them, I haven't done these for probably a couple of decades now, and so I've rediscovered them, and I find that I get a fantastic pump out of it. The movement is very comfortable. So once again, I'll stick with this exercise for 1 or 2 more blocks and then change it up again. As you move through these routines with me, I just want to remind everyone that self-discipline is a positive attribute. It is not something that works against you. With self-discipline, no matter what your goal is, whether it's gain strength, endurance, speed, or if it's just to be able to get through the day without having physical pain, being self-disciplined is the key to getting there. Exercise is something that we all need, and I hope everybody takes that to heart and does start their own routine. My hope is that these videos are helping you to move more towards better technique and better routines, but mostly I hope they're motivating you to do something more. At 54 years old, I still have the drive to get into the gym, to keep in shape, and to keep moving forward. I hope this discipline rubs off on you so that you can enjoy many years of good health. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.